Could your internal thermostat be keeping you from reaching your raw vegan, weight loss, vegan, or health goals? Let me explain what I mean. My name is JJ, also known as Veganowledge JJ, and I'm the author of How I Went from Sad to Glad, my simple 4 step blueprint to transform your health, weight, and mindset to finally reach your goals with joy and ease. And the one of the things that I think we all have inside of us is an internal thermostat. You know how, like, when you set your heater or your air conditioning to a certain temperature, and what happens once it gets to that temperature, like if you have it set, for example, to 65 degrees, and that's what you want it to stay at, the next thing, when it gets there, it stops and it will not go past that, right? It turns itself off. And we all have this same internal thermostat based on how we grew up, things that we heard, things that we've consumed in our life, maybe traumatic experiences we've had, or when people in our, childhood or something have put us down. Maybe it's something that you've even made up for yourself because of your, all of your belief systems. So I know so many of us said before that we even became vegan or even started looking into this, like, I could never be vegan, I could never be a vegan, or I could never be a raw vegan. I could never go vegan. I mean, almost everyone that I've talked to has at some point said that before they actually, years later, even probably became vegan. So we saw some little piece of information. It sparked our curiosity. Like for me, in April of 2019, I saw a video called Raw. It inspired me with all these people healing their chronic illnesses. And I ended up just making this simple, idea. I'm going to go to the store and buy a bunch of fruits and veggies. And that all, inspired me. That one little action had inspired me to start eating that way, and then to lose 55 pounds, which inspired me, by I also eliminated chronic back pain and seasonal allergies, as if you've all heard in my other videos. And this actually inspired me to, do all of these things that I do now, like my mission to help other people and to write the book and things. So, but in the beginning, I was never going to say, I could be a raw vegan, I could be healthy, I could be skinny, or, at my optimal weight. I just always thought, and I think a lot of us do, we have these like things in our head. I could never do this. That's just not who I am. I always mess up. I always do this, and these are our internal thermostats. So maybe when we start seeing a little bit of success, we that turns off our motivation to keep going. It happens to people all the time financially. If you don't feel like, if you were put something in your head when you were younger that people who have a lot of money are evil, then the next thing you know, you start to make a little bit of money and maybe you self-sabotage. Well, I think that's what happens to people on their diet and their health goals, whether it's to become whole food plant based, whether it's to become raw vegan, whether it's to lose weight. When you start to see this happening, sometimes you have to really be mindful of these things that get stuck in our mind. If you may have been overweight, your entire life, and not healthy. Maybe you've, prided yourself on being the best, junk food eater or whatever it is. All of these things are playing a part, because you're not just changing your diet, you're changing your identity, you're changing who you want to be. And that's what makes it difficult. You have to see yourself as this person who now is the same person inside. Just like I say in my book, I'm no different than the JJ that I was when I was 18. I was no different than the JJ I was at 30, but my lifestyle is different. And now at 48, it's very different than it was at 30. You're still that same person internally. You still have those same, personality and things like that, but your belief system, the connections you've made, those are what's different now. How you see how you want to be as far as healthy is different now. You're paying attention to what goes in your body. That's just becoming a better version of yourself. And we have to allow ourselves to know that these things are possible for us. The only thing that's different between people who are at their optimal weight and where you are now is the process they followed to get there, is the commitment to making those decisions that align with their goals. That's the only difference. It's all a process. If you do this, then this happens. Sometimes it might take longer, but it is going to happen. And that's what I want you to know, that anything is possible for you. Turn off that internal thermostat. Start to be mindful of that and start to make the commitment. Get in the communities. Like I just started a community for women over 40. We have a lot of internal thermostats by the time we get into our 40s, things that have shaped us. And it's time to become in a community of people who are ready to connect, to laugh, to not worry about necessarily perfection, but how we can start to see health differently and start to make these progress and get these easy, simple tips that I like to teach in order for you to truly reach your goals. You don't need a meal plan, you need a mind plan. And that's the most important thing that you can do, is really start to think differently and really start to find those principles that resonate with you and why you want to do this. And that's going to make everything else easier. In addition to starting very simply, like I always teach, begin to eat fruit for lunch. Find at least 5 ingredients that you love for a salad and a non-dairy dressing that you enjoy, and start having that fruit for lunch and salad. Even if you are not doing anything else or eliminating anything else, start to find things to walk towards before you can walk away from the things that don't serve you. And I would love to work with you. I'm going to put the link to my community in the comments, and also the link to my book if you'd like some motivation. My book, How I Went From Sad to Glad, is a blueprint to help you to achieve your health, weight, and mindset, or change your mindset to reach your goals. So I'm Veganowledge JJ. I appreciate you being here. I know you already have everything inside of you to be successful. And I'm not here to teach perfection. I'm here to teach you the progress that you need to make in order to get there. So thank you for being here. And I will see you in my next video, and hopefully my next coaching call in my community. If my book or anything I've said here has resonated with you, or you feel like you have an internal thermostat, leave me a comment. I love to have conversations in my comments. Thank you.